the 21st, preparation day for some of you guys out there. Should be for everybody. But if it's not, that's okay too. Well, it's not really totally okay, but I'm really glad to have everybody here on the call. Those of you guys that are wanting to learn more about honoring Shabbat, learning the Sabbath, things like that, my recommendations are to go to websites or to go to YouTube sites. Living Life Without Contracts is always a good place to go. That's where my mind always goes first. But Parable of the Vineyard is a really good place to go. He is definitely a fantastic teacher. And there's lots of other ones out there. Some 119 Ministries is also out there. Very, very good. If you guys want to learn more about Shabbat, how we do this, how come it's so weird? It was weird for me too. But we celebrate this day. And before we get started, I just want to give thanks to Yahweh. So if we could, that's why I want to get started a little early. Just bow our heads real quick. Father in heaven, I thank you for this opportunity to serve you, to know that I'm your child, Father. And I appreciate you so much for the things that you do for us. We pray for our enemies today. We lift them up to you, Father, each and every one of them. We lift up our friends, Father. We lift up our friends in need right now. And all of our homeless vets that are out there today, burning up in Texas, not having a place to stay. We lift them up to you today, Father. We just pray that you give us an opportunity to get us open down here, Father. Father, we pray that your will be done with Houston County and with any other aversion that anybody that's dealing with anybody on the call tonight. We just pray this in your precious holy name, and we thank you, Father. Shalom. Amen. Anyway, let's move forward, guys. There's been a lot of talk out there about travel. You get these guys that are out there. Welcome, everybody. You get these guys out there, and they're always talking about travel. They're saying, "Oh, the driver's license is a bad thing." Can I tell you that the driver's license is not a bad thing? Because how bad could a contractor's license then? I mean, shoot, if you had a driver's license, what if you doubled up with a real estate license? Man, you'd really be contracted out. But that's not really the case. Because what are these things? They're tools. And we're learning to use these tools. We're learning to use these tools appropriately. Okay. If we don't learn to use these tools and we run from the toolbox, we'll just have flat tires in our life. Yeah, we really will. And can I tell you, that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you to be completely confused. He wants you to not know where you stand. He wants you to feel as low and as worthless as you possibly could imagine. He takes joy in that. Yeah. I grew up with people like that took joy in watching me suffer. And that's not a good thing. Because what happens is you get something that wants to follow you around a lot, and only Yahweh can free you from these things. We teach this travel and driving class because it teaches us to properly interact with the police. A lot of times people say, well, a driver's license it's your contract with the state, and it says you have to do everything that the state tells you to do. I don't remember signing a contract that ever said any of those things when I got my driver's license. No, I didn't. Nope. So what does that mean? It means we got a lot of guys out there and people out there that are having court in their living rooms. Yeah, they're staying up all night and they're thinking. In Texas, they do a lot of thinking. There's no G in thinking, by the way. And that's what they do. They sit up and they think. And they're thinking about it all night long. And the problem is that the word says there's a way that seems right unto man, and the end thereof is death. Did you hear what I said? There's a way that seems right unto man, but the end thereof is death. So when we start thinking with the G this time, okay? When we start thinking, okay, what we start missing is there's no Yahweh in that. There's no Yahweh in that process, is it? Next time you had a big think about something, how many times was Yahweh at the front of that thinking table? Was he there? Or were you just thinking by yourself? Or my favorite thing is when you tell people these little cliches. Good to see you, by the way. When you tell people these little cliches like, well, you know what? I'm going to go home and work on it. Like you've got your own personal workshop where your head opens up and you can go, you can go work on it like the $6 million man or something. We know that's not true. But we say these things. I think we say these things because we had the best intentions, but we know that we fall short every day. And we fall short because we don't have the experience, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Damron doesn't have all the experience. But what he does have is I have experience following Yahweh. I have experience walking through the fire of this world where they keep trying to put you out, they keep trying to lock you up. I've been there. And you know what I found is that it's completely spiritual. It had nothing to do with my behavior. That was all just gaslit. It was something else. It was something spiritual. And when these people think that you're not protected and they know you belong to the Most High, they're going to come after you. And they're going to come after you a lot harder than anybody else. And it's not going to be fair. But you better stand your ground because it's not supposed to be fair. It's your test. Just the other day, I was pulled over here in Converse. And allegedly, I was pulled over and stopped because I failed to yield the right of way while I was at a stoplight. Now, you and I both know that makes no sense. I'm going to say that one more time. I failed to yield the right of way of an intersection while stopped at a stoplight. Not possible. You just can't do that. But what really happened? Why did he really pull me over? Because this man got to take a good look at me. And he saw a scenario where he had seen 1,000 times somebody would fall and they would lose. And he banked on that. He put his pride up. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the cop that came out to my house while there was a repossession driver out here trying to steal my car. And he didn't have a right to at all. He had no contract and he had no repossession order. And he also didn't have a lien on the car. And in the state of Texas, you cannot repossess a car in the state of Texas unless you have either a lien or a court order. And without him having either one of those, there was nothing to help this guy. So he had dirty hands. And I explained to him very clearly, if I would have done the same thing, you guys would have hauled my ASS off to jail. So what the hell? Well, there's a double standard in America, you guys. And these cops, they have their friends, and they like these repo drivers, they like these tow truck drivers. I know this. My dad was a tow truck driver when I was a boy. And so he was probably a bit pissed off that his homie lost out on a repo, number one, because now he's not getting paid. And number two, he actually could be prosecuted. And so he saw the car. Apparently, I got away with something. And he's mad. And he decided he would invent a crime and pull me over. That's exactly what he did. So when we do these things, one of the things that we're going to be talking about in my class is how to deal with these people. Well, you got to do some tests. You got to test that relationship, and you got to see if you're dealing with a whack job that likes to put his hands on his wife, probably, or if you're dealing with somebody that's actually went to work and wants to actually go to work that day. Well, that wasn't the case. At least that wasn't my opinion of it. Because when I asked him to rationalize his thought process, he got very angry with me. And then he got intimidating with me, like he was going to pull me out of my car and beat me up or something. So what do? Whip out the camera, Tim. Put him on YouTube. Get him. And then you could rip him up good. You could take him down sideways. And then he'll call for backup and shoot and kill me. And then I'll be another YouTube statistic. This is what we're trying to stop, everybody. This is what we're trying to stop in America. Look, we need to stand up. And we need to tell these people how things are. But open rebellion and dishonor is not the way to do it. It will never be the way to do it. Anytime you bring disorder, imbalance into things, Yahweh can't be at the head of that. I don't care how many crosses you think you're wearing. It's not going to get there. And we're missing these things in our day to day because we're taking our problems and we give Yahweh no consideration. None. We're busy. That's what we tell him, don't we? Oh, but hold on a second. I just want to look at this. Oh, but hold on a second. Let me just take this phone call. Let me check my email. I'll read my scripture here in just a minute. I struggle with that. We all struggle with that. But if you want to know where you're falling short, America, that's where we're falling short. We're spending so much time and a lot of time researching things and running around in circles and trying things out that we're missing the blatant and the obvious that's right in front of us. What we're missing is that we're missing the ability to use common law. We're missing the ability to use contract law, to use mailbox, to talk to these people. That's what we're missing. We don't know how to do this anymore. They don't teach how to write checks in business class anymore. They don't do that. They don't even teach how to do any of this stuff. In your home economics class, I'm not sure what they do these days. But I got to tell you, that leaves the responsibility up to you. It doesn't mean that now that we have an excuse, we can just say, oh, well, they didn't teach it to us, so we just don't need to learn it. I try to get out of that with my colonoscopy stuff, and it doesn't work. But it's true. My doctor said that the other day. She goes, Mr. Dameron, you were supposed to have a colonoscopy when you were 45. And I was like, well, I'm 51. I guess I missed it. Dang. Very disappointed. Sorry you feel that way. It doesn't work that way, guys. Well, it worked that way for me that once. And it probably really won't work for me long term. We're losing our country because we're losing the ability to speak. We're losing the ability to be heard. And what's going to happen is this whole thing's going to crack open. And you think people are acting stupid now? Get ready. Get ready. We're about to have some foolishness in the street. Why? Well, let's look at the demographic that's entered into our country right now. We have a whole demographic of children and people and everybody coming in from everywhere, coming in right through the Texas border and being smuggled in all over this country at rates that have never happened before. So what is that going to do? That's going to turn our melting pot into a not so melting pot. And we're going to have a lot of things that aren't melted at all or cured. We're going to have a lot of cultures that are going to smash with each other. And we're going to need to know what order is. I'm going to tell you, I don't think that our law enforcement is going to keep it together, guys. I don't. We have a problem in law enforcement. And here's the problem. Somebody told these guys that they could go to work and they could be liars and that it's okay. But the word of Yahweh says very clearly that no liar, no adulterer, no homosexual will enter in the kingdom of heaven, period. It's because it's his rules. That's why, if somebody was asking. And we're missing it. We're missing it. We got teachers out there that are teaching people that they can run around and have no liability, no personal liability for anything. They say, no. When you're traveling, and it's private. That means you can't ask me for insurance. Well, to an extent, he's actually correct. But what happens if you hit somebody? What happens if somebody hits you? What are you going to do with your little fancy pants plates and you don't have insurance? How's that going to help you? It's not. It's going to hurt you. And not only that, it's going to hurt the people that are involved. So in my travel class, we're going to be talking about the difference between traveling and driving. And there is a difference. And it's not what these guys are saying at all. travel and driving is a very simple concept. You are all traveling. Your cars are an extension of your home. If you're in the state of Texas and some other states, your car is an extension of your home. That means you're pretty much in your living room. That means somebody better have a good stinking reason to pull you over to do this if they're going to pull you out of your living room, now don't they? So I'm going to try to open this thing back up again. So I had this officer and he got mad at me. And he got mad because I sent his little friend home. Let me see if I can get this back on again. Sorry about that. And he decided to come in, make a personal impression, and show me what a big fat bully this guy can be. Okay? What do we do? And more importantly, how do we stop this? I'm going to read through some of this with you guys because I can read it better on this screen. All right. Let's see. Basically just says what's going on here, and it says that the entire incident was captured by my dash camera, and the incident complaint is groundless, manufactured, frivolous, as the prosecutor cannot produce any evidence that the following would have occurred in order to sustain a complaint of failing to yield the right of way of a vehicle in an intersection. The first of them is going to be property damage, right? And you hear that a lot. You got no corpus delicti unless you have no property damage. No harm person, no crime, right? Everybody's going to start peeling off with that, all that. Okay, good. Now that everybody's got that out of your system, let's keep going. B, damage to persons or property. I already said that. I know. Just calm down. Stay with me. C, an intent to cause A or B. Huh. Did you know that that was a factor? Well, tell those idiots out there that keep telling you that there's only two things. If there's no victim and no factory damage, you can't do nothing. Oh, no. If they can prove that you had an intent to do it, they got you. And number 4, that there is an opportunity to both yield and stop as defined under Texas Transportation Code without the opposition or conflict in law. Well, there isn't. And I know there isn't. So therefore, we put this little comment in there about Jay Bush. And it says that Officer Jay Bush has knowingly and willfully breached his professional duties, recklessly misappropriated public property, funds, and exhibited actions with an undeniable intent to oppress and marginalize Mr. Dameron. Such behaviors constitute an unconscionable violation of the standards of practice within the legal profession and gravely undermine the integrity of our justice system. Now, why did I put all that in there? Because because I may have to appeal this. And let me tell you something, guys. If you want to stop getting whipped and beat up in court, start beating these guys. Take my class. I'm cheaper than a ticket. Trust me. And then, well, I'm cheaper than most tickets. But come and take the class because this way you'll know how to carry yourself during the stop, so nothing gets elevated or escalated. And one of the things that I do teach in the class is that if you feel like that he's going to escalate things or he is escalating, shut your mouth. Stop talking. Let the big old bully run out of gas. Let him talk himself into something stupid. And if you have a dash camera in your car, and you should, then guess what? He's going to sit there and do all the cop-splaining right there. And this guy explained on camera that because I inched forward, I didn't move into the intersection, but most people, you stop behind the line and then you go forward, right? So that's what I did. He said that I scared some car in front of him that hit their brakes. And so therefore I was interfering with traffic. So therefore I earned the ticket. Now we all both know that's a bunch of hogwash. But without the proof of these things, we don't have to get into an argument. We just talk to these people. Of course, here's a little ticket too. And like I said, guys, I know those of you guys that have taken my class are like, hey, how come he doesn't send it back in 3 days? Because I'm going to whoop this guy's little butt in court. That's why. Because I'm going to make an example out of him. Because what he did was predatory. What he did was inappropriate. And I don't put up with that. And if he continues, well, then we can escalate too. And when you're in honor, that's your privilege. That's what you get to do. See? And that's what we got to start doing in our dailies. Let me see. Sharing. So one of the many things that we're going to be talking about, it's a 2-day class. And one of the things we're going to be talking about is how to interact with these people, how to read what they're doing. Okay. If you start reading these guys and start doing the same thing they're doing, understand that they're on the job. Okay. And their job is to treat you and to put you into some little hole that they think that you appropriately belong in, whether it be a criminal hole, whether it be the I'm better than you hole, whatever that hole may be. That's what they seek to do. And these are people, you ready? These are people that are mentally ill. That's right. They suffer from a disease. It's a mental disease. It's called narcissism. Yes. And narcissism and sovereign citizens are almost the same thing because they both have the same belief. Well, what is a sovereign citizen? Well, let's look at our officer here. He decided to pull me over and probably countless other people over that day for no reason. That's like walking into the living room of my house and violating my rights when there was no cause to do it. This is inappropriate. How do we fix this? How do we stop this from happening? Stop paying their tickets. And I didn't say go into dishonor. I didn't say that. But you need to contest them. You need to appeal them. And when these officers lose, you start petitioning to fire them. I hope you guys are, I hope the local boys over here are paying attention. They're watching my call. They usually do. So this is the next move. We make an example. We show them that they're not serving the public, that they're serving themselves. Yeah, they're serving themselves, literally. Because his fragile little ego was hurt. Because somebody hit their brakes. Oh, that's that guy in that Lincoln that got it for free. I'm gonna go get that guy. That's what they're thinking. How do I know this stuff? Because I'm old? Well, that's part of it. Because I have superpowers? Nah, not really. But when I ask Yahweh, he tells me. When I ask Yahweh to give me the eyes to see what's going on when things are going bad, when things are not in my control, I have to hand things back over to him and say, okay, you try it. I need you to help me through this. Because see, I know too much. I got too much smart stuff to say. Those of you guys that take the travel class, you're going to see I got all kinds of smart stuff to say to these cops. But the problem is that they know it's me. So they're going to act on it. A very common practice in the law trade right now that I'm seeing a lot is that they like to defame people. They like to publicly defame people and then monetize it. We're seeing this in Tyler right now. You know, we're seeing a situation where you've got somebody that's ready to speak up for himself. And he's ready to do something that's good for the community. He wants transparency. But these people, they have too much to hide, you see. So they've got to stop this guy. And how do they do that? Well, a lot of times what they'll do, and this is their MO, as soon as you start speaking any kind of a law or any kind of law stuff, and really go back and start listening, just go back and just start remembering all of your old heroes from the past that would go up in court and do all that grandstanding in court. Where are they today? Where are they? They're defamed. They're locked up in prison somewhere. Someone forced a psychological exam on them. That's what they do. They'll force a psychological exam on you and deem you completely crazy. And then they don't have to answer any of your paperwork. And then they don't have to be accountable because they've proved that you're crazy now, you see. And that works for a lot of people because they don't see what I see. They're not plugged into the same source that I'm plugged into. For the God I serve, he's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. And he's not some guy. Nobody disrespects the name of Yahweh. You ever notice that? You ever hear anybody in Hollywood say anything about Yahweh, Yeshua? Nah, never, right? They'll throw Jesus around all day long like a pinball, won't they? Yep. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. How they did that. Jesus, H Christ. I mean, you'll just hear them just really get after it. You know what I mean? And just compound that, you know? And nothing happens to them. There's no bolt of lightning. You know why? There's no power in that name. I'm going to say it one more time. There's no power in that name. And if there was, he would have showed up a long time ago. He would have showed up a long time ago when I asked him to. But now that I reach out and I talk to Yahweh directly, he tells me everything that's going on. So when my enemies start to circle my camp, and they may have plans in their head, Yahweh already knows what they're going to do. And if you've got him on your side, there's no weapon formed against you that can succeed. There's not one. I can tell you great tales. I can tell you great stories and great victories, but not a single one of them are mine, ladies and gentlemen. They all belong to Yahweh. I'm a witness. I'm a witness to his power. I'm a witness to what he's done in my life. And we want to show you how to do it the same way. We want to show you how to walk in complete transparency and honor. You be completely exposed. Nobody can hurt you. That sounds like a trip to Disneyland to me. Given my lifestyle, given the way that I grew up, with all these barracudas that I grew up with, bunch of flesh-eating barracudas, all of them just chew on each other. Seriously. I hear stories in my family about family members ripping each other off in my family for like 30 grand, 40 grand, and then they show up to the next family meeting and everything's cool. I'm so glad I found Yahweh, because he's the one that made the difference, and he's the one that's going to make your difference. Now, is calling out to him enough? It's a start. I mean, it worked good for the guy on the cross next to Yeshua, because, you know, he was pretty much stuck. But you, my friend, are not stuck. You guys are not stuck at all. You have the ability to go forward. You have the ability to win. Sorry, I was reading this comment here. And this is what they do. It's exactly right. Emilio's telling the same thing. I was seeing this right up here from New York here. And actually, I know who this is. Good to see you, man. Glad you're here on the call. And a great, again, all we can tell you is what Yahweh has done in our lives. That's all we can attest to. And if you're smart, you don't follow a man. If you're smart, you validate a man and you follow his successes. You learn from his failures and you follow his successes. Yeah, we can't let stuff like that happen. That's terrible. But we have a way. And no matter the way, Yahweh is going to send his people to help you. As a matter of fact, I got a really great phone call from a gentleman that's on the call tonight. And he gave me wonderful insight as to what was going on with my case. Who does that? Who puts that in a man's heart to do that? Yahweh does. That goodness, that comes from Yahweh. And we need that. This whole country needs that. We need to stop thinking about ourselves. Start thinking about everybody else. Because if everybody thought about everybody else the way they think about themselves, we wouldn't have any homeless people that are disappearing, by the way. We wouldn't have any of that, but we do. So we got to stop this. In this travel class, we're going to be talking about how to manage these relationships. There's a lot of talk about people saying, oh, don't cross over the bench. If you cross over the rail, you're in their jurisdiction. Hey, man, if you make it past the people that want to touch your crotch and go through all your paperwork and, you know, make sure you're safe and fit to enter in, if you've done that, you're already in their jurisdiction. Do you know why those are in place? That's called psychological conditioning. Has nothing to do with safety. It's talking, what it does is it robs people of their spark. It distracts you from what you're really trying to do, because now you've got to sit here and take yourself apart, put your belt back on, your shoes on, and all this other stuff. And now you got, and then in 5 seconds, now all of a sudden you've got to give a crap about something. See, Satan does these kinds of things. He tries to get into your day to day. He tries to get into literally the drivers in front of you in traffic. He's doing it on purpose. He wants to see you fail. He wants to see you curse God. Yeah, that's what he wants. And how many times do we hear people doing that? They do that a lot too, but most of the time they don't know his name. Thank goodness. You know, I was reading today in scripture and it says that, you know, in spite of him judging us, he's still going to have mercy on us. He's still waiting for us to I guess, to come clean. And I mean, what an amazing amount of love. What an amazing guarantee that we have. Why aren't people getting in line doing this? Why aren't people doing this? Because people inherently do not want to be obedient. And another thing is, not everybody belongs to Yahweh. I know Christians are going to throw rocks at me on this one. Not everybody is called. There's other races here, in case you haven't noticed. We're starting to see it now. They're calling them aliens. But those are just other races of people that are here, been here. Who knows? Maybe they've been hiding underground or underneath the ice wall. Who the heck knows, man? But it doesn't really matter. Because if you're not serving our Elohim, you'll have no cover, no matter what kind of creepy stuff those guys are. If they got cockroach people that come out of the walls, whatever, it's not going to matter. Well, that's a new one. Cockroach people. It's true. It's true. So a lot of times we hear people talking about, you know, when they get pulled over, I'm traveling in common law, officer. And they look in the back seat like it's in the back seat. You ever notice that? I say this a lot, but it's true. I see these people on YouTube all the time. Oh, officer, don't worry. I'm traveling in common law. Right there. It was there. So we don't travel in common law. But what we do need to determine is, where do we have liability and where do we not? Where is the point where you're in your vehicle and your travel cannot be interrupted? Where is that point? Where is that standard? That's what we need to find. That's what we're going to be talking about in my class. Because if you can walk that line and hold that standard, you know what? You just might be able to do that, all that other stuff without being a YouTube star. You just never know. And I'm telling you, I have. And I've been very successful at this for a lot of years. My students have all been successful dealing with tickets. Anybody that's taken my class, they've all had great success with the class. So I definitely do this. Let me check out Amy's got a comment. She says she had 2 cops with their lights turned on behind her today. And neither one of them pulled me over for speeding. And that's right. That's called Yahweh's grace. That's right. You know, and one of the things that I really pray for every day is Yahweh's grace, because we're not enough, guys. We're not enough. Look, man, we know that this matrix is so tricked out and it's got so many different obstacles and things and acronyms. My God, do we have acronyms, right? You ever notice that we have more acronyms than we have people now? Seriously, just try to put all of our acronyms in one room. Really, just the common ones. Don't get all weird and go with them stupid ones, but I'm talking about just the common ones, okay? And you'll fill up a stadium with those things. There's so many of them. And they do, quite literally. Have you ever seen them on the boards up there? Always got an acronym up there. KFC, ABC, NBC. All these acronyms. What are they trying to do? They're trying to dumb us down. They're trying to make us a little bit less paid attention. Now we hear a lot of folks that will say that there are no courts. That there's no more common law courts except for the ones in Georgia. Have you heard that one? Anybody heard that one yet? That's a good one. They'll tell you there are no more common law courts unless we go to Lamar, Georgia. And the funny thing is this, and people got into this stupid frenzy of filing paperwork with the Secretary of State there, which is really pointless to do when you're not doing business in the state of Georgia. But it's gotten so excessive and it's happened so much over the years that the Secretary of State's office literally has moved all of those filings into these big things out into the hallways. And then the other acronym people, the FBI, CIA, they go sit there and go through those files, quite literally. And people are missing it. People are asking today, where are our common law courts? How do we use them? They're right here in front of you. Hold on. I got a lot of experience in common law courts. This is one of my firm mailing books. I have 2 of these. And I'm almost done filling this one up. I think I got these few little pages left on this little book right here, and it's done. And these books have between $4,000 to $7,000 worth of postage in them, between both of them. Really. That's where your common law courts are. Because I paid my duty tax. And when you pay your duty tax, then you have a common law judgment. And you have the right to enforce it. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the travel class is equity. There's a lot of people that know a lot about laws, aren't there? But they don't know nothing about equity. And you got to have both. I'll give you an example. If you were in Dallas, Texas, any other big city, Fort Worth, wouldn't really matter, Houston, they'll have a posted speed limit. But nobody's traveling that slow. Nobody is. What are they doing? They're going fast, right? I know, because I'd be out there with the Lincoln, be driving slow, and everybody wants to kill me and run me over. I mean, I'm like, geez, and I'm just doing the speed limit, the reasonable speed limit. But the problem is the people are not acting as such. I'll give you another example. Did you know that it is disturbing the peace here in Texas if you curse in public? But who's going to jail for that? Nobody. So there's a law with no equity behind it. So let's go back to the traffic thing. What are they doing? Are they calling in the National Guard to come parachute in to go get all those cars and catch them? Are they calling Jackie Gleason and his stupid son to come out and fix them? I think not. Because he can't stop equity. You can't. Equity is the most powerful jurisdiction. Because equity and common law work together. One of the things that your teachers are not telling you about common law is that you need a witness. And the witness is not you. You get a lot of these cuckoo birds that are saying, oh, you just fill this little thing out, you put a stamp on it, and you cancel it yourself because, you're the postmaster now. No, you're not. You're the affiant on the page. You're the one that's talking. And now you're the postmaster too? You really want to go hit that psychological exam, don't you? You're asking for it. You're totally asking for it. And that's no bueno. So what we have to do is we have to find a balance where things work. We have to find the ability to calculate what we're doing and know that it works each and every time. We got too many flash in the pan teachers out there that are waving stuff around like they're blank checks. You ever seen the 1099 Club? How those people in New Braunfels doing that all got sucked in on that, let's go get a house with a 1099A. What are they doing now? They're pissed. And most of them are like, no, man, I didn't do that. Nope. That wasn't me. That was somebody else. Not okay. So what we got to do? We got to find the right way to move. We got to understand what equity is. Understand that when you're being stopped, that's what he's trying to put into place. He's trying to put acting elements in place so that they can go forward and move forward with their narrative. That's right, whatever it may be. We've got a lot of that going on in America. How do we stop that? How do we fix that? We too need to walk in righteousness. We too need to stop lying to people. I'm talking to myself too. We too need to learn that when somebody says something, we need to respond to it. And we're missing that today. We're very dishonorable people. You ever notice why the IRS doesn't really like us very much? It's because we're out there spending all this money, but we're not understanding that these are debt notes and we should be closing these things out. We got an accounting problem here. We're in the middle of a bankruptcy and we got notes running around all over the place, and we got citizens here that think that that's cash. We got people like David Straight saying, go to the bank and go get all your FRNs out. Hey, dude, if they crash the system, do you remember that those notes are promises to pay, right? Huh? Come on, stay with me. So we know that they're promises to pay. So guess what happens if they call the bankruptcy? Everybody that's holding on to all those notes, which are promises to pay, they're going to have to pay it back. Ooh. Now that's a reversal, isn't it? And that's what they're trying to stop from happening. Because if they do, then that changes the wealth. And it puts the wealth back into the people's hands, you see. People are acting as IRS agents, ordering and sending forms. Yeah, guys, you shouldn't be doing this. You need to talk to a tax professional. My wife is a tax professional. She's a tax preparer. We have a class that's going to be coming up for this. We'll show you how to do it. More importantly, we'll show you how to explain it to your CPA so they understand what you're saying. We'll show you how to prepare the right documents to have everything together so that when you do present it, it's boom, boom, and you're in and out. You just pay the bill and move on. Isn't that good? Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? We got a lot of people that are talking about being private, but then they got these plates on their car that say, I'm private, and they stick out like a sore thumb. I know I was one of those. I traveled the country with my wife and my wife and I and family. We traveled, hold on a second. We traveled the country for 2.5 years. We did the license plate thing. I've showed these before, but everybody likes their memory refreshed. There you go. Here's some of these old plates that were on our car. That's what they look like. Look, we did all this. Scary, right? Look at that. Look how official it is. Huh? Look, see the difference? Yeah. 2 vehicles. We did it for 2.5 years. Here's what I learned from this process. This is not private. Not even close. It's not. All I did was I didn't get stopped by the cops, but everybody else sure wanted to talk about it. And that's not private. That's actually putting yourself in a position to where you could actually elevate yourself above other people. And who else does that? Narcissists. Who needs to come into the room and make themselves the best person in the room? Who does that? A narcissist. These are people that are broken. And we got to change that. We got to start learning what accountability is in this country, because we just don't know. This class, we're going to be talking about administrative claims. Right. In this travel class, one of the books, here's a little nugget out there for everybody. One of the books that is required reading for this class is this book right here. Okay. It's called Police Liability and Risk Management. This is actually a textbook that, and I'm just going to hold it up for a while so everybody can see it. But this is actually a textbook that that you get when you enroll to take your, or get your, I'm sorry, I'm not even saying this right, your criminal justice degree. If you're getting that here in Texas, this is one of your textbooks. And what is this book for? Well, when I started reading the back of this thing, it says what it is. This book, it talks about torts, civil rights, and employment law. Employment law. Yeah, for public officials. This book right here is put into place, and it teaches them to protect themselves from the public. So if you want to know what they're thinking, if you want to know what their training tells them to do, this is the book. And I recommend that you get it. I have really tried, I'm trying to get a group together of us that's pretty big so that we can jump into this book. So that's the plan. I was trying to close it out this month, but we just don't quite have enough students. So I want to add a few more students so that we can get a really good group together. We have such an amazing amount of talent in this room, even right now as we stand. And this is a book that everybody should have. We should have this book because we need to have this book. We need to know with these public officials how they're being trained. We have a right to know these things because they work for us, right? At least they're supposed to. Awesome. That's what's up. and I'm telling you, it's a fantastic book. It's not a very long book. It's an easy read, but a really good book. And it gives you, there's a lot of case law in there too. So if you're writing complaints and things like that, this is, if you want to go in and challenge and do like an open challenge in a courtroom or a filibuster, something like this, if you knew what you were doing and you knew what was in this book, my goodness, you could destroy those guys. You really could. And we need that in America because we ourselves are picked apart and picked down every single day. We're going to be talking about this weekend. We're going to be talking, or this coming weekend, we're going to be talking about the how people are segmented, how they put people in certain areas of town and they keep you there. Your license plates tell you that. But in the UCC and trust class, we're going to show you how to fix that. We're going to show you how to move in the private, completely quiet. Those of you guys that don't even have driver's licenses, you hear me? You guys. I'll show you how to get state plates on your car, everything be legit, and nobody sees you. See, that's worth the cost for the class just in itself. But you're going to get so much more than that. I encourage you guys to check this class out. I've been teaching this class for 7 years. Actually, I'm going into my 8th year right now. And I have had nothing but great success from this class. Every student that has taken this class has really benefited from it. And because it sets a foundation, a small foundation on how to build or how to deal with these people in court. And when you want, basically what I'm going to teach you is that we don't talk to them in court. Because if you do talk to them in court, they've already made up their plan. They already know what they're going to do. They already had their little meeting in the back and their little scotch and brandy back there. And they've already decided who's going to be on the chopping block and who's not for the day. So what we have to do is we have to do something that these teachers tell you not to do. What do they tell you? Don't contract with them. Sir, I'm not going to contract with you. They always say that, right? But what happens? Now you've got a hand that's sitting out ready for a handshake and you've got nothing. So at that point, there's a mystique of dishonor that we have to deal with. And what I'm going to teach you in this class is how to pull down their pants in front of everybody and just on paper to where they don't want to come in. They don't want you to go into court. If Tim Dameron files a case in Bexar County courts today, they will not hear it. Nobody will. I mean, they'll file it, but they won't hear it. Why? Because they know They know. We need to be very, very careful. We need to understand that this legalism or this legalese that is being spoken behind us, in the corners, in these courtrooms, in these attorneys' offices, all this stuff that's being done, this is a whole nother matrix. It's a whole nother deal. And these guys have had their foothold in this country for a very long time. And I'm here to tell you, they do not belong here. They are absolutely invaders. They have no interest in holding up your rights. They have an interest in taking care of the courts. But we can't go in there and snap our fingers and make them all blow up. We can't do that. So what we have to do is we have to lean on Yahweh. We have to lean on the principles of Yahweh. So what does Yahweh say? Well, Yeshua said something in Matthew chapter 6. He says, if you have a problem with your brother, you need to go with him with a witness, now don't you? That's the first element in contract law. If you don't have a witness, then there's nobody in agreement with you. You have no standing. That's why these people always show up to court. Sorry, I'm looking at my dream. These people always show up to court and they talk all this talk. And the judge, if anything, they just put up with them. They don't really answer them. They don't give them any proper consideration. They just tolerate them. Did you guys see the video that was released, excuse me, in Dallas with all these Dallas attorneys? And they all went up there and they did some play and they dressed up like the devil and said how they were complaining about. Did you guys see that video? They said they were complaining about their clients and all this and that. I'm just shaking my head like, you know what? These guys are really showing their true colors right in front of everybody. And this is your Texas bar. So I say this, stop hiring them. Start handling your business in the common law. So that way, if you do walk into the common law, that way, if you do walk into their dirty little temple, you've already had court. Everybody accepted everything. Everybody defaulted it. And the postmaster witnessed it. What you got? They got nothing. Because that's how a man walks. A man walks and he knows that every step that he takes is planted and blessed and anointed by Yahweh. And if you don't know, don't take the step. And you wait. Oh, but then I'll never get anything done. Well, you know what? You ain't getting nothing done now anyway. Now are you? Where's all of our own intelligence got us throughout the years? We're making up space stories at NASA. Seriously. Yeah. That's where all of our intelligence has gotten us. Look at the billions of dollars that they've spent on NASA to go play in a swimming pool. Stop it. Stop it. It's to keep, and we're missing it. We're missing the bigger picture. We're missing what's happening. And the reason that we're missing it is because we're not tuned in. We're not serving Yahweh. We're saying that we are. We want to, but we're not taking the time to look up and say, what does he want from us? We're too busy saying, oh, he knows my heart. It's right here. He knows it. Yeah, he sure does. And he knows that we have a disobedient heart. He knows that we're not honoring Torah. We're not. Our country's not honoring Torah. We stopped. You know, I still know people that are not Jewish or Hebrew, that are Hispanic, that still honor Shabbat. And they're Catholics. And they do it faithfully. And those people are blessed. They're blessed. They don't even know where it's coming from, but they're still blessed. Because why? They're honoring him. We got to get to that. We got to get closer to that. And it doesn't matter what happens out there. It doesn't matter what these guys do with each other, or if they decide to grow legs out of each other's heads, or whatever they're going to do down in those freaky labs. It doesn't matter what they do. What matters is what you do. What matters is where you stand on Judgment Day. Your name is going to be called, all of you that hear this today. Even you guys in Houston County, you guys that are listening today. He's going to call your name. And if your name's not in that book, I feel sorry for you. You have an opportunity. You're hearing the message of the good news today. This isn't a lie. This isn't fire and brimstone. This is facts. Yahweh loves you. He's moving his grace and he's backing it back. When I'm saying he's backing it back, in other words, he's pulling back. You seen these people that are drinking nowadays? They're dying at 30, 35 because they're drinking too much, aren't they? Hey, man, I went to University of Texas in Austin, okay? And I never saw anybody overdrink themselves, ever. I mean, we did it sometimes here and there, but not to what we're seeing today. What's the difference? Yahweh's grace. We're running out of grace because this race is almost done. And we need to keep our eyes on this prize. And no matter what fire comes before you, Yahweh will make you ready for it. This travel class that I teach is about how Yahweh made me ready for it. I was the guy that got pulled over like Cheech and Chong everywhere. I could never get a break. I could almost never show up to a show on time because, as a musician, because I'd always get pulled over. Oh, your music's too loud. Well, I'm getting motivated. I'm going to band practice. That's what we do. They didn't care. They didn't want to hear that. Your car's too loud. Your exhaust is too loud. It's too fast. It's too clean. It's too. All that comes from Satan. All that. And he's laughing at you. You want to have victory today? You want to stop hearing that voice laughing at you today? Talk to Yahweh. Take whatever you've got. Whatever's weighing your heart down today. You get before him. You give it to him. Don't you dare take it back. You give it to him. And I promise you, before the sunrise comes up the next day, you'll have a message from Yahweh. Not from anybody else. You're not going to hear from David Straight. You won't hear from me. But you're going to hear from Yahweh. Because he's going to send somebody like Emilio to call you on the phone today and tell you, I know exactly what you needed to hear. Because Yahweh told me. That's how he works. That's how he works. There's no movie. There's no script. There's no actor that can act it. Because it's how he works. He's the real deal. He's the original OG. And he knows everything. And we're missing it today. We're so puffed up that we're missing it today. I invite you guys, come and take this travel class. Learn to wrestle not with your flesh and blood, but to wrestle with your spirit. And when you do, you'll win. You close this and you let this work. And what happens is you see the victory. And Yahweh will show it to you every time, just like he showed David, just like he showed Daniel, just like he showed everybody else, and just like he showed me. I can only testify to his greatness. Man, there ain't nothing he can't do. I've seen him do miracles. And he's not out of the miracle business. He's just getting warmed up. I love you guys. I want to thank you guys for being here on the call tonight. Those of you guys that want to know more about serving Yahweh, I encourage you, please go to some of these pages. Go to a Parable of the Vineyard. Go to 119 Ministries tomorrow. Just take an hour out of your day. Listen to what Yahweh has to say. Listen to the messages of these men, because these people are really giving the message, and they're doing it because Yahweh told them to. And I know what that feels like. And man, you got to get behind that. You got to get behind that momentum, man. There's no excuse for it. You just got to do it. So I want to tell you guys, join us for the class. Please. You're going to love the class. It's cheaper than a ticket. The second day, we're going to be we're going to be talking about nothing but law. So I'm going to talk about all kinds of different cases, And you guys can ask questions about it. Well, what if they do this? Or what if they do that? Or what if they do this? And you know what? I hope somebody can stump me. I hope they can. Please, one of you come in and take the class and say 1, 2, 3, and 3, 4, 5 happen. What you got, Pastor? Stump the trunk, please. You know what? We got how much time we got? We're over the limit, but I don't care. Let's I'll open it up right now. If anybody's got any questions, let's do it, man. Anybody got anything you want to fire up? If not, you can always do it this weekend too. Doesn't matter either way. But if anybody's got any questions, input, I'm here. I'm glad to open up the door for you guys. But most everybody's here is kind of regular. So it's good to see everybody here. It's like family here tonight. It's really good. And new family too. Thank you, Emilio. That being said, I guess we'll go ahead and shut it down tonight. I wish everybody the best. Paula, thank you for joining us tonight. Amy, everybody, Patrick, Chad, so glad you guys were all here. Be super blessed. We'll be praying for you tomorrow. Please pray for us. Why? Because I need the prayer and you need the practice, right? Right. Don't get your feelings hurt. You know it's true. Be blessed, everybody. We'll see you guys next Monday night at 6 p.m. Blessings, everybody. Good night.